Hey everyone, welcome back to another Tic Tac Taiko. A couple of months ago, I did a video called The Secret Ingredient, where I talked about what makes a great taiko solo a great taiko solo. And it was popular enough that I thought I would do a follow-up video this week. But instead of just giving you information, I'm going to give you some drills that will help you improve your secret ingredient. But if you haven't seen that video yet, I strongly suggest you stop watching now. I'm going to link to that video below. Check it out and you're going to enjoy it much more going through the process that I set up in the video than you will when I just tell you what the secret is and go to the drills. For the rest of you, I'll see you after the intro. Alright, if you're at this point in the video, I'm assuming you've seen the original and you know that the secret ingredient of a good or great solo is support. But I feel like most taiko players, maybe even an overwhelming majority of taiko players, don't really get a lot of training in how to support a soloist. Most players are learning by observing, watching, sort of osmosis, and what they tend to pick up are three basic things. You learn to look at the soloist, you learn to lean in, body language, towards the soloist, and you learn to ki-ai at or for the soloist. And none of these are bad. These are all three good things, but they're very basic. And what I mean by basic is it's really hard to expand on a lot of them. For example, okay, you know you should look at the soloist, but how do you look harder or more at a soloist? And okay, you know you need to lean in towards the soloist, but there's only so much you can do before it becomes silly. As far as ki-ai goes, ki-ai is an extremely important aspect for taiko. It's one of the things that makes our art form so special. But imagine yourself as a soloist and one of your teammates behind you is ki-aiing extremely loud and extremely often. It's authentic. They're not doing it for attention. They're really trying to support you. But that kind of ki-ai at that volume and that frequency is starting to overwhelm and overshadow your solo. It may even be distracting to you. And it will get to the point where the audience is going, huh, what's going on behind the soloist? What's that person doing over there? And this is a logical conclusion. This is something that's going to happen if your mindset is more ki-ai means more support. It does to a point, but that point's not really high up. That point is somewhere in the middle. Once you cross that point, you are more of a distraction than you are of support, even when your intentions are authentic and good and supportive of the soloist. And that's with one person. Imagine you have 2, 3, 5. You have the entire group behind you giving you that much ki-ai. You are drowned out. You are lost in the noise of energy and sound. So given that those three types of support are kind of limited, how in fact do you support a soloist? And how do you get better at doing it? I'll tell you the secret of the secret ingredient. It's when you support. Not how, not what, but when. And when all boils down to intentional placement of support. In other words, you pick your moment and you go for it. And the moment could be a single note, or it could be a short passage, or it could be a long passage. But once you start to think about the when of support and you watch other soloists and their support, you'll start to realize that some things sound better at certain times and some things get lost and some things may not sound good at all depending on when they're placed in a solo. What say we do some drills, yeah? The first set of drills are 3 drills that will work your reaction time. And reaction time is a very, very understated skill for taiko. It's one thing to use it while you're soloing. It's another thing to use it for the soloist. You might have all these ideas and this intention to support the soloist, but if you're constantly missing that opportunity, it's not quite as potent as when you nail it. And that's what we're going to work on next. For drill number 1, not yet, but when I tell you we're starting, I'm going to move. When I move, you react. And you can react in a lot of different ways. You just want to make sure you're making a sound. You can snap, you can clap, you can pat your chest, pat your thigh, you can ki-eye, you can hit a drum or a drum pad, but you need to make a noise, not just acknowledge in your head that, oh, I would have reacted, because you're working reaction time, which involves a stimulus coming in, your brain recognizing the stimulus, then telling part of your body to do a thing. That's reaction time. Just acknowledging that you would do something is only half of it. That's just the brain, but your body has to be part of this as well. Otherwise, you're not going to get much out of this drill. All right, again, drill number 1, when I move, you react. And here we go. Great. How was that for you? This is a bit of a warm-up. If you found that too easy, oh, we'll get to you, don't worry. But if you found that challenging, there's no harm in going back again, just to kind of get used to the idea of reacting with the sound. Drill number 2, we're going to do kind of the opposite of what drill number 1 was. I'm going to constantly move, but when I stop, that's when you react. And don't mind the movements I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm going to do, and they may very well get silly. In fact, they're probably going to get silly. Okay, yes, I had way too much fun doing that drill, but I hope you got something out of it. I hope you were able to recognize the pauses and react accordingly. On to the last drill in this series. I'm going to up the difficulty level here for this last one. I want you to pay attention to what my fingers are doing and nothing else. When my fingers move, that's when you react. So if my hand's turning, doesn't matter. If my wrist is moving, doesn't matter. If my body is moving or if I stop moving, doesn't matter. You're only paying attention to when a finger or thumb moves on either hand. Ready? There we go. I realized in workshopping this idea that I could probably do this for an hour at a workshop until people got really bored. But it's a lot of fun both to do and to try to react to. But the point here, the main point I want to get across, is you're working a skill of trying to ignore all the auxiliary movement, all the other stuff, the window dressing, and you're just focusing on one particular point. That's a kind of focus that's really important for reaction time. For the second and last series of drills, I'm going to play 3 solos. 3 different tempo, 3 different G, 3 different arrangements, and your goal is to listen for opportunities to insert something musical. Don't worry about how I'm moving or when I stop. All you care about is what you hear. And you're trying to find a place and a time and put something in, whether it's a hit or multiple hits, a key eye, multiple key eyes. It doesn't matter, again, what, it's when. And if you happen to play a couple of things and I come back in while you're still playing, that's okay. You didn't fail. You can't fail this drill. You stop. You simply stop playing whatever you're doing and you wait for the next opportunity. Let me give you a basic example. I'm going to play 4 straight beats on and then rest for 4 straight beats and show you a couple of examples of some simple ideas for filling in those opportunities. Yo, ho. How was that for you? Did you have fun at least? Were you able to find opportunities? Maybe if you weren't always successful, did you feel like, oh, there's a place to shoot for. Oh, there's a gap to jump into. I'm sure you found some success. And working this skill helps you get more and more successful along the way. The more you know how a soloist plays, the easier a drill like this is. Most of you aren't used to my solo style, even if you've watched my channel. And it's going to be harder for you to figure out what I'm going to do next. It's harder for me to figure out what I'm going to do next. But if you're familiar with a soloist in your group, you know patterns, you recognize things and sequences, and it's going to be so much easier to drop something into an opportunity. And for those who are interested in really getting better at the skill, I recommend going back to those 3 solos that you just went through. Instead of looking to find opportunities in the gaps, find opportunities on top of what the soloist is playing. So adding accents to certain moments, or playing a sequence that complements what a soloist is playing, you want to be careful that you're not overwhelming, in other words, the ki effect I mentioned earlier. But again, it takes practice to do that. And this is an environment, this is an opportunity to practice that without making mistakes. Before I end, I want to say 2 things about this skill. The first is that you may not have permission to play things during someone else's solo, and that's kind of normal. You may get told, no, you only play G or you only play percussion, that's all you get to do. And that's okay, because you can still ki using the skills we've been working on, right? And you can still have the intention to play something, recognize those opportunities, even if you don't actually do them. That's still building up the skill. And the second thing is something I've said before and I will continue to say. It's not about the what, it's not about the how, it's about the when you support your soloist. And working on this skill not only makes you a better musician, it makes you a much more well-rounded taiko player. And as for the soloist, the recipient of this support, they may not hear what you're doing in the moment, but they're gonna feel it. And the audience is gonna feel it. And it is magical. It can be awesome. And it's because of what you are doing. It's a lot like when you're watching a movie and the score is in the background. You're not aware of it, but it is manipulating your emotions, and that's the idea. That's the kind of support that you're giving to the soloist. And you, yes, you who play taiko, you can make this happen right now. At your very next rehearsal, at your very next performance, you can incorporate this intention and just try it. And of course, practice makes it easier to do, but you can create the magic that this kind of support gives to the soloist, that creates for the performance. All you have to do is do it. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, let me know with a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should. And until next time, keep on supporting each other and be well.